Deep Inside the Narcissist's Head by Kathy Krajco. Kathy Krajco was of the first survivors who talked about narcissistic abuse under her real name. She died unexpectedly in her home in 2008. She was 56 years old. I suspect the narcissistic hive mind was behind her death. In her book, What Makes Narcissist Tick, Kathy Krajco says, deep inside the narcissist and narcissists are from Pluto. Those who must deal with narcissists find it impossible. That's because to deal with anyone, you must know what to expect from him. For example, if you say good morning to any normal person, you can expect him to say good morning back. But what if he just gives you the stink eye, acting as though he perceives some hostile intent behind your seemingly friendly overture that throws you into confusion, doesn't it? The victims of narcissists often report such bizarre reactions to things, but note the exact relationship between the stimulus, you're saying good morning, and the response, him giving you the stink eye. You said good morning, he did not burst out crying, he didn't jump for joy, he didn't say you're welcome, he didn't react in any of the 1,000 possible off-the-wall ways. He reacted in the off-the-wall way that is the exact opposite of what was called for. Greeting someone with good morning is an acknowledgement of their presence and an expression of good thought. Will it calls for the same in return, but he responded instead with a rude and rather audacious refusal to be civil and give the customary return, hurling at your expression of the opposite ill will. Instead, this is a pattern of narcissistic behavior. It is perverted equals exactly backwards and supercharged to an extreme. What is going on in the narcissist's head to make her more behave this way? First, to make sure we are all on the same page, let's recount some examples. Hostility towards friendly overtures, anger at what should please, increased anger in what should appease, inappropriate laughter, contemptuous callousness towards what evokes warmth and pity, hatred of what should evoke gratitude. Such perverted reactions are the antithesis of a normal human being reactions to those things. So it's like the narcissist is an anti-human being, the negative image of one, which is why their behavior is so perplexing and counterintuitive. The question is why. The answer is because in a way they are anti-human beings, they are predators, equals they are behaving as members of another species toward human beings. They are wolves who view humans human beings as sheep. Hence, there is never an actual meeting of the minds of normal people and narcissists. For in human beings with a narcissist, you have the national human mentality clashing with the alien mentality of a predator of humankind. When you meet a Dave, a co-worker, in the hall, you say hello on the premise, set a show of friendliness and goodwill will elicit the same in return. If Dave were a normal human being, it would, but your premise doesn't apply in this interaction because you're interacting with a predator, not a normal human being. Dave feeds on your kind morality. That is, think of him as a vampire. So he gives you the sink eye and reacts hostility to your friendly overture on the premise, and a hostile reaction to a friendly overture will shock, disarm, and deeply wound you. See the clash of conflicting premises here? You walk blindly right into that surprise attack because Dave is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So you expected a human reaction from the antithesis of a human being equals a predator on human beings. You're like a sheep that walks up to a wolf and say, "Hi, how are you?" to never finishes the sentence before its jugular is cut, and notice how this perverted reaction perverts the whole event. Your friendly gesture is made out to be the malicious act, not Dave's attack in response. Enter the twilight zone. Every human action is based on a premise. It is a path you take to reach a chosen destination. For example, you drink a glass of water, the premise that drinking water will quench your thirst. You say hello to a co-worker on the premise that acknowledging his presence with this expression of goodwill will elicit goodwill from him in return. What if he is a narcissist from another planet? Then he ignores you on the premise and acting like you're beneath his notice makes you dirt, and he makes you dirt on the premise that making you dirt makes him God. So he is living in another world, his own little wonderland, and your premises don't work in that world. This is why his reactions are often off the wall. Moreover, we are always acting on some premise about the matter at hand. For example, if you're discussing a business proposal with Dave, you'll be acting on premises aimed at business success. Narcissists are nearly always acting some narcissistic premise, so while supposedly discussing that business proposal, Dave is actually just posing in a mirror to improve his image. He would thoughtlessly damage the business soon, through his image, so in his eyes, he would thoughtlessly damage the business soon, through his image. So in your eyes, it's about the business proposal. In his eyes, it's all about him. Even when he's flattering you, it's on some narcissistic premise. In other words, you're like actors on the stage reading lines from different scripts. The narcissist never tires of this imbecile game, but you will run out of patience with it fast. There are 3 things never to forget while interacting with him. The person inside this adult is a damaged 3 years old. He views you as an object to exploit for self-aggrandizement without regard for your feelings and welfare. He is acting on alien premises. Would this goes on, narcissistic choice of victim, it is so counterintuitive that many people just won't even believe it. As Jesus of Nazareth said, "What criminal ends his child a venomous snake when that child asks for something to eat?" Answer Dave and his fellow narcissists. 5 1.9 Alien Mentality, the science fictional character of aliens from other planets make a good analogy for the narcissist predatory mentality. They likewise was astray through this stranger that fiction. So artists filled with predatory mentality almost exclusively with characters represented as alien beings, fiction writers must portray them as intelligent alien species, not human, otherwise readers would not buy it. In those movies, these beings come to us. One memorable episode of The Twilight Zone tells of aliens coming to eradicate all human disease and hunger while they were busy fattening us up and ridding us of disease. Their leader, absently mindedly misled, had looked at the CIA, grabbed and studied the president, had code breakers and linguists tried to translate it. Finally, they got the title translated, between commas, How to Serve Men. That put the president's mind at ease about people accepting the invitation to visit the aliens' home planet. As the first group departed Earth, waving goodbye, the translators urgently came to the president's office saying, "Wait, stop that rocket ship, it's a cookbook, not funny." Like clueless domestic livestock that we humans left and rid us of disease, fatten us up and hurt us onto this interplanetary cattle truck, never suspecting what they had in store for us. The president played right into the alien's hand because he made the error of assuming a human mentality in the alien species, so it never dawned on him that this manual of theirs could be talking about clicking human flesh. Don't we do likewise to the domestic livestock we raise and slaughter? These aliens viewed, that's the way we view them, without pieta humanity. In other stories, alien experiment on humans like Hitler's doctors experience on Jews in the death camps with nothing but curiosity about the agony they inflict on a specimen. This absence of humanity horrifies us, yet why should we expect humanity in alien species? Don't we ourselves experiment on other species? When was the last time you felt sorry for a cockroach thriving in poison agony? We view it as unworthy of regard. So these advanced species of aliens from other planets are no worse than us. Narcissists view us the same way, as some lower form than themselves, as unworthy of their regard. They could not bring themselves to prey on us, and so their need to aggrandize themselves and their way of doing it by diminishing somebody else makes them predatory and prone to acts of shocking humanity. The law recognizes a special case of predation. The criminal predator is much worse than those who murder in revenge or anger or fear. As in a robbery, they kill for reasons. They kill for reasons. In this case, meaning the criminal predator, the narcissist, he kills just for the kill because he likes to. The difference is that as the between night and day. Okay, the difference is between the two. Killing for a reason and the other one killing for just to kill. As night and day, it is not natural for people to view human beings as prey. We cannot even imagine it. This is so ingrained in us that even in disasters, where survival depends on meeting the flesh of the dead. Oh, okay. Is this so ingrained in us that even in disasters where survival depends on eating the flesh of the dead, and there is no moral reason not to, a normal person can hardly force himself to, and he bears psychological from the experience for the rest of his life. So what is it with the narcissist that what would cause that primal human sympathy, which having once must ever be just not in them? They have no more regard for anybody else's feelings than we have for those of the half-squash bug. They don't relate to us. They don't view us as beings of their kind. This is how wolf views sheep. The narcissist chooses to not relate to human beings. He chooses to view human beings as prey who exist to supply him with food. He chooses to stay membership with humanity and chooses to show no humanity towards humanity. His choice is doing. I suspect that if the river is a cure for NPD, it would somehow persuading the narcissist to deny his image and identify with the hurt little child in the dungeon within the real self, a human being. In doing so, he would become human and rejoin the human race. But till that day, if ever it comes, the narcissist is always acting on a different premise than a normal human being would. And if I find in the book this part, I will put it in the video description, because I checked the book today and I couldn't find this excerpt from the book. So once I will find it, I will put it in the video description. Thanks for listening. Know what to expect from him. For example, if you say good morning to any normal person, you can expect him to say good morning back. But what if he just gives you the stink eye, acting as though he perceives some deep inside the Narcissist's Head by Kathy Krajco. Kathy Krajco was of the first survivor. What makes narcissists tick? Kathy Krajco says, deep inside the narcissist head, narcissists are from Pluto. Those who must deal with narcissists find it impossible. That's because to deal with anyone, you must have survivors who talked about narcissistic abuse under her real name. She died unexpectedly in her home in 2008. She was 56 years old. I suspect the narcissistic hive mind was behind her death. inner book hostile intent behind your seemingly friendly overture that throws you into confusion, doesn't it? The victims of narcissists often report such bizarre reactions to things, but note the exact